Okay, let us do an editorial. Now, keep in mind, this is not a review or a countdown. This is an editorial, a video where I talk about a certain subject, media related. With that said, back in March of 2020, I reviewed a Don Knotts film by the name of The Incredible Mr. Limpet and brought this subject up. There was supposed to be a remake of this movie that started in the late 90s and went through development hell. But however, that's another story for another time. Well, for this editorial, I'm going to be talking about that story. It all started in the late 90s when Patton Oswalt was having a conversation with Brad Bird behind the scenes of a television show for a potential remake to The Incredible Mr. Limpet with Jim Carrey in the title role. And Steve Odekirk, who had also worked with Jim Carrey on Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, and also worked on such films as The Nutty Professor, Barnyard, and the Jimmy Neutron movie, as well as worked on several of the Thumb movies. You heard me, Brad Bird. The same guy who's responsible for such masterpieces as The Iron Giant and Ratatouille and The Incredibles, which was just meh. I find it very ironic that Patton Oswalt was talking with Brad Bird, especially given how he would later go on to play a Brad Bird character. But somewhere around 1999, Steve Odekirk was taken off the project. Steve Odekirk was out, Brad Bird was in. They took some motion capture tests with Jim Carrey. The CGI was supposed to replicate the Find the Fish scene from the Monty Python film, The Meaning of Life. But no matter how many tests they took with Jim Carrey, Brad Bird only had this to say. If you saw this in the water, you would be running out of the water and screaming and telling everyone the world's gonna end. This is the most horrifying thing I've ever seen. Okay. As much as I love most of Brad Bird's work, I'm gonna have to agree with him. And as much as I would have loved another version of The Incredible Mr. Limpet, again, I think Brad Bird made the smart decision by pulling the plug. Basically, for a few reasons. Because if Shark Tale taught us anything, is that plastering a human's face onto a CG fish can have very questionable results. I also have the feeling that if you were to revive this project today, I feel like you would have to get someone pretty big. Let's say Andy Serkis. But then again, Andy Serkis is the master of both CGI and motion capture. And I don't think even old Andy could make this look good. Hell, the concept art was done by Bob Camp, who also was the art designer for Ren and Stimpy, as well as did some concept art for the Jim Carrey Grinch. And the redesign for Mr. Limpet was based on Jim Carrey's character, Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. And before I say it was probably for the best that this movie was never made, I do have a few sources that there were attempts to try to bring this project back to the light. The first attempt was in 2000, second, 2001, with casting choices reaching everywhere from Robin Williams to Chris Rock to Adam Sandler. Hell, even Enchanted director Kevin Lima was set to direct this film, and the release date was set for 2010. The last two attempts were 2014 and 2016. And especially given how CGI can look very, very damn creepy, maybe it was definitely for the best that this movie did not get revived these days. Like I said, it was probably for the best this movie did not happen. So, until the next editorial, this is Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache, signing off.